So let's do that. Oh, do that double back fist again. Ready? Yeah. So try to get your knee more forward, Max. So you're in your stance, and then, yeah, and then pull it. Yeah, and then lean into it. Yeah, and turn your hip in this way. Yeah, and then come forward. Yeah, like that. Yeah, you get your legs used, your hips and joints used to that. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit longer. Yeah, you don't want. See, these positions, they kind of all look alike. You know, we go like this, they go like this. They're all, but based on the technique, these postures, they vary slightly. You know, when we're like this, it's not the same as this. Just like this is not the same as this. It depends on the intent of the motion and what you're doing. When the hands are like this, then you're doing this. When the hands are like this, then you're doing this. So it depends. The angle is based on the direction of the force. So you have to, have that compatible. And then the knee is always, if you can, in the leaning stance, line up with the tip of your toe. Yeah. So, and then, so this is your back fist. So the important thing in the back fist is to sink your elbow. It's not the force. It's not this. It's this. It's an arc. So the arc is from here. See? So the arc, this is just from here to here. This is the rounding of the motion. You see, so the force becomes circular. So the compatible part of the motion is when your body is rising and falling. Rising and falling has to do with the direction of your force and gravity in your body. It's a accumulation of force going in a direction. So that's what we're trying to capture in the movement. So when we draw, there's a direction. When we thrust, there's a direction. When we thrust, there's a direction. So it's apparent to the viewer to see where that force is going. Even though they might not understand what you're doing, they can see force going in a direction. So that's what you have to define when you do your movements. Today we're working on some simple things in application, but the things that we do that are parallel, they're not really for function when we're doing that. That's training the motion. And, many times I talk about movements and application have to be at least 2 dimensions. So when we do this, or we do this, that's just one direction, but you're practicing the timing between this and this. But the motion itself might start from here, and then it turns. That becomes 2 dimensions. Because here, I fold to here, I turn to here, then I turn to here. That makes it effective. But I'm not actually using both hands. I'm only using this hand. This hand is just a supplement. But we practice like this so that we know what the movement's going to do. But if I go like this and I open my hand, then this becomes this. You see? So that's when we're in this position, that's just a pair of movements. But your wrist blocks, when you're using this is called sinking your elbow, sinking bridge. But usually your sinking bridge, if you change your body form, then when he punches, say here, punches here. I'm not doing this. What I'm doing is this. You see? See, if I go like this, and I go like this, that's your interception, right? So intercepting a movement, you avoid and you intercept. So your center line is here. See, imaginary center line is here. It's not imaginary, it's a real center line. But the thing is when your hands are here and you cross into your center line and you move beyond it, you see the alignment of that movement through the forearm is the point of interception. So when you intercept the movement, no, it's good. Either one. So you're here, right? So when you're here, do it on this side, then you can see this is here. It doesn't deflect it enough. You turn like this. So this is the frontal direction. Then the second plane of motion is there. So that's makes it efficient. Because when I come down here, that's intercept and I turn. See, there's first is 1, 2. This is, I connect here. And the second one is what's going to redirect it. The first one is to attach. Right? The attachment is so you don't overcommit. If he throws a punch and I go like this, then I'm kind of reaching for that, thinking I'm going to avoid it. But you avoid it by intercepting and then turning. Then you don't overcommit. If I overcommit, then this can come to here, and I can't respond as fast, right? But if I just intercept, and I didn't. See, so that's a different approach to what you think becomes defensive. First is avoiding, right? I'm leaving the line, but you can do a combination of both. I avoid by sitting back. So that's what this is, right? When you move back, that's avoiding. In fact, you have to move back to move forward, right? In Tai Chi, right? So like this, actually I'm double weighted. I can't take a step because I'm stuck. So when you're here, if I'm like this, then it gives me a chance to change directions or move in. See? So that's what this would be. You don't see the sit back, but that's the unweighting. See, when we're in a ready position like this, and I want to take that step, you can't take that step unless you shift your weight. Just a minute shift is this, right? But it happens so fast that you don't notice the shift. So if you're like this and you move with this hand, there's my shift, right? That's my step. So between that maneuver, it allows you to bridge the gap. If you do this and then want to take a step, you're actually behind the 8 ball. You can't really move. So that shifting, like in a sliding step, is where the movement is, because you have to be able to sort of distinguish what is the solid foot and empty. So when I'm here, even though that went forward, it didn't move forward until I shifted backwards. But it's a tiny little shift. So because 49-51 doesn't have to be 75-25 to be a shift. It's just it's just a unweighting. That's already unweighting. But that becomes a sensitivity thing from moving and moving and moving. It happens in an uppercut sliding step. There's really a transition in the lower half. That's your leg work, the ma bu. That's the leg method. So shifting weight is the leg method. The upper body is the hand method. Then the torso is the body method, which is avoiding or shifting. Avoiding could be this. See? That's avoiding. You avoid and supplement it with a hand. Then it becomes. So that's how we kind of learn to apply the techniques. So forms are really not, there's a literal interpretation of what the movement is, but in true form, it's really for training to get the body familiar in the action. Then from all the numerous postures, you have combinations of that body form that become a blend of an action. So it's, that's really where the skill comes from. That's why if you just learn one movement, it's not going to be effective. So you have to learn. So you learn this, you learn this, you learn this. So that blend of movements becomes a combination of the action. And that's more sophisticated in a sense because it's a lot more complicated and a lot more parts moving sequentially. So that's sort of principle theory. So okay, you can go on back to that. Yeah. So there's a shift right there. You see that? Yeah. Yeah, do it again. Do it again. Shift. So. Bend this here, yeah. So these are like they were concentric circles, one's not longer than the other. Yeah. Okay, and then go. Yeah. And now find your sternum, and the center between the two palms should be right where those two hands connect there. Yeah. So. Yeah, and then go. And then go. And go. Yeah, okay, shake it off. So actually these are just two circles. This is a circle. But you have to track that motion for the continuity of motion, because when you scoop, this circle is the circle. There's no difference between this circle and this circle. Yeah. Well, if I'm here, this is your circle. Right? He throws a punch. There's low, there's middle, there's the other half. So this depends on, you have space based on gradations, right? So if I do it out here, then I didn't use my elbow. It just came from here, too far away. You don't have leverage. If I do it here, too close, I'm all jammed up in my own position. So the average position would be here, right? And then here. So the circle is this, right? So this is your circle. This is your circle, right? Now if I go like this and I turn, then the change of plane on the motion is because I'm moving in a direction, right? So then the hand actually is coming closer to me, and I'm also moving. So when the hand is here, then it's here. See, so 1, 2, 3, 4. You see, so that's because you're moving in space. Your body has to be able to track that in order to maintain the consistency of the force. Because if I'm here, and I'm here, I'm here, 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 here. I can't do this and keep letting it go out, because I start to lose my position, and I no longer have stability in my stance. So that's why when you move through space, you have to be consistent in your integrity of the motion. It's not, easy to imagine that when you're first doing it. But when you're doing the movement, you really have your circle here. And then, so your body has to be constantly adjusting, adapting, and compensating for the movement. Now we keep it flat, it's very easy to do. Make that circle chalkboard, but it's not going to be it's not going to work once you start to move your feet, right? Because you change the space. You change your space and don't adapt, then you start to reach and you come out of alignment, and your body no longer has integrity and structure, and so you have to use excessive force. So understanding that concept becomes something that your body recognizes. That's spatial awareness. That's proprioception. That's relative position. That's something that you learn over time. So when you do a form, how do you know your space? How do you know where the positions are when you move? That's the change of direction and the angular positions and the geometry of those positions. The triangles, the circles, and the squares come into play. Those are real basic. But then once you move and your body turns, can you maintain that consistency? Most of us will have trouble in the beginning till it figures it out. So that's why, doing forms can be pretty challenging as the form get longer and more sophisticated in the action. So some of the movements, are pretty complex. So just a simple, we have 10 tigers in the tiger crane form, yet there's really only 3. A single tiger, double tiger, and a black tiger if you add that black tiger. Right. Okay, yeah. So that's the butterfly. When you cross, the direction is 45 to 45, 45 to 45. Step out, and then it pushes to that point that lines up here. Yeah. Yeah, good. That's good. Then, yep. Good out step, sweep and squat. You have to, because this is, you have to have because you're going to go down before you go up, right? What goes up must come down, what comes down must come up. So you have to have some volume in your movement. Don't make a butterfly palm too flat because there's not enough space. If you make this cutting hand too flat, then it's just this, and you don't have any dimension to motion. When you make it, it has to go that in order for them to be. Because for me to go up and then him going down, I have to bring it back down, right? So it's here. See, if he holds, it's worse. You see, because you just drop. So it's sink the elbow, relax the shoulder. So that's why, a lot of styles have butterfly palms. It's a connection of the two hands moving. Really like reversing the ball. Yeah, so we break it up because for every leg movement there's a hand movement. For every hand movement there's a leg movement. So if you want to build it with continuity, then you have to move quickly on your feet. And you have to be agile on your feet. So if you're going to build continuity, you have to soften the footwork and turn the body. So so you can try doing that, but you have to move that way because then you won't have enough room. So face that way and do a bunch of them. The butterflies. 1, right? 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Even butterflies with the hop step. Yeah. That's, yeah. It's the same action, just that it has the step, but the timing becomes a little bit different. One. That's the they call it the small jump. So we have those jumps in lion dancing, but Master Tang used to do that a lot in his forms. And they're usually more for like performance, but not in application. You actually have to be rooted into the ground. You can't leave. It's only for more looks. Yeah. So you can try a few of them. Yeah. So because it's longer, you can do more of them. Yeah. Yeah. So these are called the unicorn step. So the emphasis is not on the push, but on the stroke of the hands. Okay. But compatible movement, your leg work, if you're going to jump, has to be compatible in size and timing with the hands, so. But if you do that action just the way we did it, then if you keep it going, you'll find that you can, sort of pull it together. So when you're 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just taking block lettering into your cursors, building, like calligraphy. You start with single strokes, then it becomes circular. So this, then your leg work has to be, because these are softer, these have to be softer. Yeah. So everything has to be compatible in time, because the body becomes synchronized. So as you build that timing, then in application it's the same. We're saying like this, he throws a punch, this is a double block, right? So is it, this is too big, too broken. So you want, and then that's the exchange between one movement and the next movement has to be that kind of cycle. So then it becomes, right? Yeah. Right. That's the snake. So chop. You're already doing this second form, right? I'm here. He throws a punch. Just that the emphasis is not on this. The emphasis is just blended together. It becomes a timing and a cycle. But you have to time, because we're here, like that. So what I did there was just a keel and go backwards. Stepping, like that, but more in the line. So that's agility of footwork. So from the forms we will learn all of this stuff. This isn't like isolated creations. It's already there. It's a change of time and space. So yeah, you can work on any one of the above. Yeah, you did the butterflies, and yeah. So what would you want to do for? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you were at the double crochet, and well, that was going from here, right? And then you're going to do this, then the third one, and yeah. So finish that part up. Yeah. So you can do it to the backside or do it to the front using the mirrors. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so the third one is a little different. The hands are opposite, right? So we notice when we're here, then when we're here, then this hand is opposite of this. That's the difference between the suspended butterfly and the other two. Yeah. Do we know that? We know that. Yeah. Yeah, left's on top, yeah. Because here we don't have the step. This you have the step, and you're going to go double. This one is just one. And the same in Gongji Kun, when you do this, that's the same. Anytime you go to suspended stance, you have the opposite hands. So, yeah. Huh? Fuha? Yeah, Fuha has, yeah. And Gongji has both. Gongji has both. You have one here, then you have one here. You know, both sides.
I think we emphasize cutting hands as much as we should.
Yeah.
Like even as we're doing this, right, I don't think we're focusing on this part of the
Yeah.
set the opponent.
Yeah.
Capture the hand.
You must have missed those classes then, Paul.
No, I'm just
Yeah. 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 No, they're missing it. Because we don't really think of cutting hands as this, right? We know cutting hands is this, but you don't see cutting hands in a circular motion. This is yeah. So butterfly really typically is a cutting hand and a middle block, but the middle block comes to here. So you know Nanchun, which is a derivative of the southern styles, Choifoot, and they do butterflies like this. They just the Nanchun, you know, the modern southern fist. They just do this. It's just this movement. It's just this. They don't have the whole circle. They just, you know, when you. Yeah. Yeah. So Nanchun, because it's just for looks, then they just go right into it. What's that? But it, you know, if you were to use the movement, that's a horizontal lateral movement. My hand is here, and he punches, then that's just what happens. He punches again, that's just what happens. So it's just, so that's a piece of the butterfly. So butterfly is really a reverse, like a reversing of the ball. So reversing the ball is in Tai Chi. It's on this. It's actually Wing Chun's sticking hands, Chi So. When we're like this, that's Chi So, right? Chi So, and then punch, punch. So where the southern styles derive the emotions from, it comes from, you know, sort of a mother form, and that's like Tai Chi has 5 styles, but they're all essentially following the same principles, the concepts. Comes stick. Okay, next, for the butterfly, you're here. Then you're going to turn, set up the drunken fist, turn, and then you're here. Then you sweep. 1, 2, 3. Turn. Yeah, and then we close. Yeah. So this movement, even though this is mantis, how mantis does your sweep, when we do this, that's actually the same as like the butterfly. But this is the same motion that's away from the body. Because my hand is here, and then I turn here, you see. Then it comes to here. So what is this? What that is this, right? So you don't just have to sweep. This is just an interception. And then it's like that. So that's essentially a double line block in the downside. So if you punched here, so here, right? So this would be low. If you punch low, so it would be like that. It's up as like that. High, it would be like that. So anytime your hands intercept across, you can pull them together and bridge the two sides so they work. They complement each other. They work together. So when we talk about attaching, this is attaching. So the dexterity of your movement depends on how much of your arm you can use. The more novice or the inexperienced want to always try to use their hands because that's the first line, because we learn, from infants to grab, right? We're in the cradle, and what do they do? They're reaching. There's no bridge work there. When you get a little bit older, you learn how to use your bridges if you learn bridges. So what are bridges? Bridges are these. So if something comes in, you don't have to reach for it. You wait till it comes into your space, and then you deal with it like that. Because there's a sensitivity and a position. Here's a block, here's a block, here's a block. These are all things that you've learned. This is grabbing, but first, before you can grab, you have to be able to connect. You can't just, he throws a punch and you don't grab this. You want to be in position, first absorb the movement, then figure, if I got it here, I can move it there. If I got it here, I can move it there, because nothing better than to use something that's already there for you to slide up and down. So, right. It's hard to slide up and down if you haven't yet connected. So you connect, then you go, then you, so you're here. That's what you're doing. You press and you thrust, right? You press and you thrust. Or you press and you thrust. I don't like this side. I'm going to go to this side. So where did that come from? That. But then you see the feet. When you go like this, then that has to move. When you go like that, that has to move. We learned that from our footwork going up, go back, and back. See? So it's so critical to build your footwork. The mabu is hand, eye, body, waist, and stance. Stance is the last and most difficult to develop. As appendages, the most difficult to develop is your torso, because your torso movement is the most unused, as a function in this type of stuff, because we don't realize it should be there. But without it, your hands and legs can't connect. So when we're here, right, chop, scoop, 1, 2, 3, down, up, down, turn, sliding step, punch, turn, turn, 1, 2, 3. So that's the ending. If we're here, sit back, strike, high. There's your cutting hand, your setup, your twist, your setup, your chop. If you've set up and you've learned that direction of movement, can't miss. When you're first learning it, you're trying to hit your hand. While you're trying to get this hand to hit this hand, you forgot about how this works. That's the natural direction. All the same, right? Because that's the geometry of position, the direction. So that's what we try to, muscle memory, sequential memory. Then your accuracy of motion comes from that. Because when you're here and he's approaching, where's this going to go? It's going to come across here, right? So when you're here, just like that. And then what happens after that? Boom. What happens after that? Boom. So just boom, boom. That's drunken fist. So I'm just giving you like examples so that you can kind of look at things differently. Because when you practice something, if it's just like, you know, the same way without thinking outside the box, you don't realize there's that much technique in there. So, want to do that again, the last piece? Let's do the butterflies there and then come around to the front. So anytime you have one foot in front of the other and you reverse it, it's called changing stances. It's called one ma. So if I'm here and I want to switch feet, that's a hop. This is a stomp. So you have to set your feet up and then move your hands and then you tie it to your leg, your front leg. So if you're here, then there's a connection. So that's the finishing movement is when the hands and the feet tie together. The transitions between become, the geometry of position. But that is just like this. Then you have that position as a timing. So then this position is a rise, a turn, a sink, a step, set up here, and then a push. So those are the phases in the movement, but when you go through it in practice, that's what you have to learn, because each phase has a strength and a weakness. So if you just jump and you do it, it's actually more for display, not for building neurons and timing and all that stuff. Yeah. So the body has to go through this experience, and then it morphs into what we're trying to get. Your body actually makes a transformation from uncoordinated to coordinated. Okay, good. All right, we'll bow. So, just mental notes. Some people write them down.
Uncoordinated to coordinate, or uncoordinated to more coordinated?